All right, so my computer keeps having problems staying connected, so I'm making another video. I was talking to the mother of an autistic son named Ashley, so I put her name in here. Hopefully, she'll get to see this one. I was beginning to tell her a story. Um, when an autistic person can't speak, if an autistic person is having a meltdown, there is 100% always a reason. We don't have meltdowns over nothing. We have meltdowns over how you treat us, over your shitty fucking assumptions. We have meltdowns over abuse. We have meltdowns over the fact that we are treated so incredibly different. When I was in high school, staying at my mom's house for that short period of time, I wasn't allowed to leave the house. Eric could go out. Of course, he'd go get her some cocaine. Fuck yeah, my mom loved my little brother. He was her favorite. Oh, you don't want cocaine? You want meth? Yeah, my brother will get you that too, Mom. You know it. When somebody is autistic, low functioning autistic, which means that they're possibly even immodal, which means that they can't speak, they can't tell you what's wrong. But then again, you get these assumptions that everybody who's autistic is low functioning and you must treat them like they're low functioning, like they're mentally fucking retarded and know what the fuck is going on around them. I got an IQ of 172. I don't have an IQ of 80. I don't have an IQ of 60. But when I try to speak, if somebody knows I'm autistic, they automatically jump to shitty assumptions of autism based on just the low functioning autism category. It's a spectrum. Not everybody who is autistic shits their pants at 18 years of age. Not everybody who is autistic is unable to speak. If I'm having a meltdown, it's not for no reason. Treating me like I'm mentally ill for having a meltdown. Do you know why most of us have meltdowns? Because we take more than you do. You're allowed to have emotions. You're allowed to get angry at us. We're not allowed to get angry back, or you assume that we're getting violent. Ooh. When you get actually violent with us, we're not allowed to defend ourselves because we are automatically wrong because of the term mentally ill. Because of your bad assumptions, because you don't want to get educated, you just want to assume, blame, and harm. The thing is, that is just like with depression. With depression, you've got people who live pretty lives, wonderful family, wonderful house, wonderful job. They have everything in life anybody could ever need. But they want to tell you who doesn't have any of those things, how you should think and how you should feel. They want to pound it into you that there's really nothing wrong, it's all in your head. And if you try to explain to them otherwise, they're not going to hear you. They're going to shut you down immediately. And they're going to pound that shit at you again and again and again and again and again. And no matter how many times they try to pound it at you, it doesn't make it true. But eventually, you give in, you fold. You're right. My depression has nothing to do with the fact that I live with a dad who rapes me. I need drugs. I'll take your drugs. Go ahead, put me on your pills. Yes, if you put me on your pills, that'll stop the environmental hell that I live in. If you give me your pills, my dad's not going to stop raping me. I'm not going to have another place to live because of those pills. What the fuck good are those pills going to fucking do? If your life is perfect and you're depressed, you might need pills. If your life is hell and you're depressed, you probably need some fucking help. Most of you, when you type, you need help, you're being condescending. Or the help that you have, what help? What help in specific are you telling me that I need? That is a very vague plan right there. Sean, you need to get help. Duh! You think I'm so incredibly stupid that I don't realize that I need help? Especially after years of trying to get help? You want to tell me I need to get help? No. You need help. You need to get fucking educated. Now, me, if I was low, I would have had a guardian appointed immediately. They would have not allowed me to go to court by myself without a guardian if I was immodal and fucking shat myself. But then again, they still treated me that way. They treated me like I was immodal and shat myself and don't know what the fuck is going on. And it's fine. It's fine because of the slander against me, it makes it okay. Slander. I want you to get that through your head. Now, I have the dual problem of after they've treated me like I'm a retard, and I know you don't like that word, I don't like it either. But after they've treated me like I don't know what the fuck is going on because I'm obviously an autistic retard, then magically I know everything that's going on because of my intelligence, and I'm not allowed to bring up the fact that they treated me like I'm a retard because I'm autistic. I'm not allowed to tell the truth. I'm not allowed to show the truth. Hell, I wasn't even allowed to go to my own goddamn court dates. Is that against the law? Yes, it is against the law for them to prevent me from going to my court dates. They did that intentionally. They planned it out with the Bollinger family. Shit. When I went down there to turn in Officer Burke for assaulting me at the hospital, I had to talk to who? Officer Amanda Jonas, who took part in it. I have to go to Amanda Jonas, who took part in this praying job to try to get help against Officer Burke. And what happened? Miss Peaches promised that she would go in with me. When we got there, first of all, Miss Peaches didn't go in with me. Second of all, Amanda Jonas lied to me outright. She said that I was going to meet with her to make a report about the assault at the hospital and to get my car back. Because they had lied to me about my car. They said my car would be there. It would be fine. But no, instead they had it towed. So Miss Peaches drove me around to these places that Amanda Jonas pretended that I never went to. Sean wasn't trying to get help, is what she wrote down. Bitch, in between when I was at the hospital and when you falsely arrested me over bullshit because you broke the law and recovering for the wrongdoings of an officer who broke the law, that is the point. That is exactly why I had to break the law. It's okay for the fucking cops to break the law repeatedly and then get away with it by calling me mentally ill. But it's not all right for me to break the law to defend myself against physical assaults, against financial assaults. You know how many of these fucking hospitals have sent me bills? I didn't need to be in a single one of those goddamn hospitals. Every single hospital I was in that they're sending me bills for, I was in against my will. You can ask the state of Colorado to pay you that shit. But all these people, even Shannon Alvarado, they want to use their shitty assumptions about autism as their excuse for not doing what they said they would, for not keeping their word. When I say, hey, Shannon, what you did was fucked up. Oh, no, you just think that because you're autistic. Fuck you, bitch. You think that retarded shit because you got tits. Does that feel good? No, it fucking doesn't. Does it feel good for somebody to treat you like you're less of a human being because you have a vagina? Like you must be a liar because you have a vagina. Like you are mentally ill because you have a vagina. Does that feel good? No, it fucking doesn't. How do you think it feels for me? It must be okay because I have a penis? It's not okay. It's not fucking okay. I'm not less disabled than a woman with my condition just because I have a penis. I'm just less likely to be heard. Meanwhile, what these people did to me is considered a hate crime. I am disabled. That makes every crime that these people committed, especially if they used the term mentally ill, a hate crime. Now, what's the difference between the term mentally ill and the N-word? If you use the N-word, actually, it is a hate crime. I want to tell you something. The FBI has a list of what hate crimes are. Abusing a physically or mentally disabled adult carries with it the same sentence as doing those things to a child. Of course, nobody listens to the children either, do they? It is a hate crime for them to do these things to someone who is autistic. It is also a hate crime for them to do these things to people who are homeless. But you know what's funny about that? And this isn't funny. Way to correct it. See, actually, that right there is why the typing is taking wrong. I mean, right there, I took it wrong. You type no, it isn't, and that is the fucking problem. I took that as you saying that it's not a hate crime. That was me taking it wrong. But also, it's in the way that it's typed and the fact that I can't hear your tonal inflection. And that's extremely important. It's like the difference between you getting a bad reading because you weren't allowed to show up in court. So they have somebody read it who reads it as shittily as possible. Like they take your sarcasm and they read it as if they're hateful. Like, holy fuck, let me read it, bitch. But I want to let you know a secret. I have perpetrated over 100 hate crimes in the last 2 years. Train. And I'll explain to you how. It is against the law to perpetrate a hate crime against a disabled person. Whether it's physical or mental, it is still a hate crime, according to the FBI. However, it is not a hate crime for you to do those very same things to a homeless person. Regardless of their disabilities, nobody fucking cares about their disabilities. They're homeless. They have no rights. If you are abused because you're a homeless black man, you're still homeless. Nobody gives a fuck. The courts want you. You make them money. You're not a human being. You're a dollar sign. Meanwhile, although a hate crime against a homeless person is not considered a hate crime by the FBI, doing any of those things to a child molester or a rapist is considered a hate crime by the FBI. Me exposing these child molesters on the internet is considered a hate crime. A lot of people, I've been listening to this my entire life, how, oh, we should just cut the balls off all them fucking child molesters. We should just cut their dick off. We should just put a bullet in them. And since Natalie died, I've had hundreds of people send me those exact things. Somebody should put a bullet in your head. Somebody should cut off your balls. Before Natalie was dead, before she was dead, I already said, hey, remove my genitalia. If you pay to have my genitalia removed, you can have my genitalia. I'm not interested in sex. If I have my genitalia removed, you can stop pretending that I'm only after vagina. If I have no genitalia, then you can't pretend that I'm only after sex. That the evil things that you did and I spoke out about, you don't get to go, oh no, he's just saying that because I wouldn't have sex with him. Go the fuck away. I've exposed a lot of sexual predators in the last 2 years. Yes, exposing them is against the law. Exposing them on the internet is exactly the same thing as the shit that the news did to me, with the exception of 3 important facts. Number 1, the media reaches a lot more people. That's pretty important. Number 2, how do you shut down the media? People can shut down my Facebook. They can shut down my YouTube just to prevent me from speaking. Shit, I don't even remember what number 3 was. Let's see. Number 1 is piss. Number 2 is shit. So I'd say number 3 is vomit. Instead of treating me according to my conditions, they treated me according to a bias. Tourette syndrome is a condition that I have, not mentally ill. Asperger's is a condition that I have, not mentally ill. Mentally ill is a broad spectrum used to victimize people. When somebody who is autistic is victimized, they don't have a choice in the matter. They just have to take it. If you take an autistic child and a normal child and you put them side by side, both of them went through the same abuse. Both of them tried to talk to the police. The police might listen to the one who's not autistic. Might. But not likely because they're children. You take 2 grown-ass adults. You put them side by side. You've got an autistic person who's been assaulted by an asshole. And then you've got the asshole. Who are you going to believe, the autistic person or the asshole? Probably the asshole. Because in your mind, this autistic person must be retarded, mentally insane, schizophrenic. That's why people who are disabled, especially mentally or physically disabled, they need to be protected, just like your children need protected. Natalie Bollinger needed to be protected from her family, and I needed to be protected from Natalie Bollinger and her family. What's number 3? Well, I tell you, at least the shit I said was true. At least I showed actual evidence instead of slander. Yes, Bobby, we are brutally honest. The problem is that nobody fucking cares. I mean, I got so desperate after months and months and months and months and months of telling the truth. I literally broke the law in order to try to get someone to do something. Meanwhile, the cops have the badges, so instead of listening to me, those cops get to make the decisions in the courts. Those cops, not the judge. The judge doesn't give a fuck about you. You're just a goddamn number. So the cops get to dictate everything, and you're not allowed to bring up any of the things that the cops did. You're not allowed to bring up any of the stuff that the Bollingers did. You're not allowed to bring up any of that shit in court. We just want to know if you committed the crime or not. Fuck yes, I committed the goddamn crime, and I'm fucking proud of myself for committing that crime. You're goddamn right I am. You know how difficult it was for me to light that fire at Ken and Leah's? I didn't want to light a fucking fire. I didn't want to have to do desperate shit like that. But look at what happened for 1 year, over a year and 7 months before that. What I had to go through, how many police officers I talked to, how much bullshit they put me through. I needed a safe place. They're like, oh, we can't do nothing about that. You did plenty to make sure that I lost it, though, didn't you? You did plenty to make sure that my resources were gone, didn't you? You went out of your way to assault me and slander me so that all of my money was eaten up by the courts and I couldn't even fucking feed myself. I couldn't clothe myself or house myself. But it's okay, because you call me mentally ill and say I did it to myself. And how? I mean, most of these people that I stayed with that are familiar with autism, they're too fucked up to do a goddamn thing about it. Shannon Alvarado is familiar with autism. She's especially familiar with low-functioning autism. Brett Roloff's ex-girlfriend there in Bristol, Virginia, her son is autistic. Of course, she doesn't get to have her son because she can't stay off the meth. But that's neither here nor there. These people who have autistic children, who are addicts, their children are not going to have a decent life. And then there's the ones who have parents that are not addicts and parents who try to understand. And those are the really important ones. Those are our advocates. Those are the ones who speak up for our rights. But at the same time, those people are completely overwhelmed by the fact that they have to go through it too. You have no idea how many parents of autistic children, and many of them, it's more than one parent, it's both parents in the household, and they can't afford it. They can't get heard. There's two of them, plus their autistic child, and they still get railroaded. And you're right, Ashley. I didn't do this to myself, but I get treated like I did, like I chose this, like it was my decision. I get told that the things that I had to do out of desperation to stop the abuse are my choices, and I didn't have to do that. That it's my choice, my choice, my choice, my choice. But then again, when it comes to Natalie's fucked up decisions and her family's fucked up game playing, that's my fault too, isn't it? It can't be her fault. She's too pretty. We'll just ignore the fact that she was on drugs. We'll ignore the fact that she sent people after me to harm me over slander. And that's the problem with being autistic versus somebody who's not autistic. You don't get the benefit of the doubt. You are automatically assumed guilty. You must be retarded. All these parents of autistic kids who can barely keep themselves afloat. Fucking $28 an hour average for babysitting someone who's autistic. Now they call it childcare, and it's supposed to be actual childcare, but childcare is completely different from babysitting. And I hate stigma too. I got to deal with it all the goddamn time. I must be retarded, regardless of my intelligence, because instead of identifying the issues that they're dealing with, like Tourette syndrome, instead of dealing with me as if I have Tourette syndrome, they deal with me as if I must be on drugs because I have tics, because I do this with my wrist, or this with my eyes. I can tell them that I have it. They want me, apparently, to carry around my medical records with me everywhere. I'm still in the process of collecting that shit. I mean, I still got to wait around for the first to come around so that I can order the next line of bullshit that I have to pay for. I got to get stuff from the hospitals in Colorado, the hospitals in fucking Washington State, the hospitals in fucking Wyoming and Montana, and here in Nebraska. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Hopefully more people try to get educated on it. I want you guys, I want to stress to you how important it is to understand that autism is a spectrum. If you only learn about low functioning autism, or you think that because your cousin is low functioning autistic and I'm not like him, that I can't be autistic, I want you to my decisions. It's not my decision for you to remain ignorant or to make bad assumptions based on the fact that you didn't try to get a full education. Oh, I already know about autism. So many people told me that. Let me explain something to you about autism, because what you're doing, there's about 10 people who are high functioning autistic folks who I have their YouTube channels there and I watch them. Why? Because these people have a lot in common with me, but what they don't have in common with me is homelessness. Another thing they don't have in common with me is that they didn't get accused of crimes that they didn't commit. Another thing that they don't have in common with me is that they have their loved ones. They can see them. You know, Ashley, most people hate me for speaking out. Much of the abuse that I have taken is because I spoke out. Of course, I did try every other option before I had to speak out. Now, my question is, if two parents of an autistic child can't get the help that they need, how is an autistic adult without parents supposed to get the help that they need? I'm not any less vulnerable than I was when I was 6. And that's not because of anything that I did. It's because of the labels that were put on me when I was 6. Why were those labels put on me? Well, Miss Ashley, those labels were put on me when I was 6 for speaking out. Now, my older brother, he was molested in Colorado Christian home. He spoke out. They actually did something. But Colorado Christian home is a different setup than most of the institutions I was in. The number one thing out of all of this that I want to impress upon you is how important it is for police officers to have their body cameras on and recording at all times while on duty. You want to get pissed off that, you don't want to see somebody tinkling. Your body camera goes here on your chest. Even if you're sitting down pooping, there is no way that it's going to point down and show your genitalia. But if you want to turn off your camera, because technically, if you're going to the bathroom, you're not actually on duty. You're going duty. So if you go to the bathroom for 5 minutes, you should be able to turn off your camera for 5 minutes. However, you should not be able to turn your cameras on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off and on and off. Oh, well, right now I'm talking to him about something that, his answers, if I get that answer and omit these answers that I already know are coming, then we could frame this guy. And they do. Yes, they do need to be properly educated on mental illness. But there's a lot of things that fall under the category of mental illness. Did you know that autism is not considered a mental illness? It's not. The correction system preys on the most victimized people in America. The most victimized people in America, they're not Jews, they're not Hispanics, they're not blacks, they're not whites, they're children in the foster care system. I'm glad you knew that, Ashley. Now, what happens to these foster kids when they turn 18? They don't know how to drive a car. They don't have money to get a place. They don't have ID. They have nothing. Now, I want you to imagine somebody who is autistic is going through that. It's going to be more difficult, isn't it? It's a catch-22, and they made sure that I ran into every one of these catch-22 roadblocks, such as the mentally ill versus intelligent catch-22. Oh, well, you can't file a report against the officer who assaulted you because that officer filed charges for assault against you. No, we're not going to listen to you. We're not going to listen to your side of the story or look at the side of the story or why you were forced to do these things to defend yourself. We're not going to listen to you. We're going to ignore you until you have to do something desperate. We're going to ignore the abuse against you until you have to do something desperate. And then we are going to harm you because you had to do something desperate because we wouldn't do our goddamn jobs. Meanwhile, my predators, who I tried to turn in for over a year before Natalie died, who I tried to turn in for surely repeatedly after she died. These people, I was illegally prevented in every single case from filing a report against these people or showing evidence. No matter what, there was always an excuse. You're in the wrong jurisdiction. And if you're not in the wrong jurisdiction, we're going to ship you out of jurisdiction to eat up more time. The more of Sean Schwartz's time we eat up, preventing him from having the resources to defend himself, to take care of himself, to clothe himself, to feed himself, the longer we drag that out, the closer we get to our ultimate deadline that'll make us all happy as officers. The statute of limitations. The point at which you are cut off from bringing charges against these people. All of the people who I tried to go in to talk to the police about, all of them, Ken and Leah, they got protection orders against me. Now let's go back into that just a little bit further. Who was it that stole my money? Ken and Leah. Who was it that assaulted me when over a month after they were supposed to pay me back, they didn't? Sorry, almost a month after they were supposed to pay me back, they didn't. They were supposed to pay me back on the 8th of December of 2017. Dawn Bird assaulted me and with her chest, so it is sexual assault. Dawn Bird sexually assaulted me for trying to get my money back, for saying, hey, Ken, Leah, I don't have any food. You guys want me to pay for all of your weed. You said you were going to go get an ounce of weed for you for $100. I gave you $100 so you could get an ounce for me too. I wouldn't have needed that ounce of weed if I didn't have to deal with Leah. You should carry. I do the same thing, Ashley. A lot of times when I'm watching these videos from other high functioning autistic folks, I'm nodding my head. I'm saying stuff like, "I know that's right. I know that's right." Now, those of you who know that saying right there, you're my people. You're definitely my people. A lot of people call me racist. Meanwhile, I'm sticking up for black rights, minority rights, across the board. A lot of people want to call me sexist, but I stick up for women's rights. However, if you do wrong, I'm not going to stick up for you. I'm going to stick up for men's rights too. Those are human beings as well. Just because a man doesn't have a vagina doesn't mean that he's not a person. A lot of women, now, a lot of the stuff that I've been looking at is in Great Britain, Australia, and here in the United States. We're the three major countries as far as that goes. We treat autistic people like shit. They're not human beings. And you get to hear from those three countries, women in all three of these greatest countries on earth, women will manufacture those very things that were said about me to make it okay. They're having a custody battle and you want your kid. I understand that. But you should be honest about it. If there is a legit reason that the father should not be father, then that needs to be brought up. What you do instead is you go, oh, well, my husband left me because I cheated on him. I want to keep my kid. He's a better parent than I am. He's already got his own place. He's got a great job. The only chance that I have to keep my kid and to hurt him for leaving is to make sure he doesn't get to see his kid. So I'm going to lie and say that he molested his kid or he raped me. A lot of women do that. And that is even more disgusting and wrong than actually raping somebody. If you can understand that, then you've been through both. I grew up in the system being raped. And I can tell you honestly, this is worse than rape. I mean, the longest that I ever had to endure a rape was maybe 15 minutes, and then it's over. But this right here, this will never be over. Being falsely accused of crimes I didn't commit, falsely accused of stalking, falsely accused of rape, falsely accused of child molesting. Meanwhile, the people who were accusing me of rape and child molesting were not the people that I supposedly even did it to. I supposedly did these things to Natalie and Alicia, or Natalie in specific. You look at our correspondence, we were friends, even after my birthday, and my birthday was the last time I ever saw her. If I was a sexual offender to Natalie Bollinger, why would she still be friends with me? Why would you tell me that you love me? Of course, with Natalie Bollinger, she loved her dad. He raped the fuck out of her. So it kind of makes sense. Kinda. It don't make any goddamn sense to me, but I'm a rational and reasonable individual. What I'm pissed off about is the lack of intelligence and reason within the United States. Our entire borders are saturated with morons, judgmental morons, who are fine with it happening to somebody else, but when it happens to them, it's the end of the world. Most of these people that are high functioning autistic people who make these videos, they don't have their panic attacks on video. Years. You know, I stick up for black rights, but I have a major issue with the black community. the entire community. Does that mean that every black person takes part in what I'm pissed off about? No, it doesn't. It means that as a community, we need to do better. We. I don't have to be black to stick up for your rights. And just because you're black doesn't make it okay to ignore the rights of others. You want to be pissed off that there are so many white people who are ignoring your plight. But you're ignoring the plights of others too, aren't you? You're ignoring the plight of the Native Americans, the homeless, children in foster care. You're still a human being to me. I have yet to be shown humanity. I get lots of pretty words on the internet. I do. There's lots of black people who have typed a lot of pretty stuff at me. But the fact is, they haven't taken an active role in doing something. They haven't been speaking out elsewhere. They. You guys tired of hearing that yet? Yeah, I got tired of saying that 5 minutes ago. They. How do you think it makes me feel when I read whites, men? White people did this to me. Men did this to me. Women did this to me. No, if you do something wrong, it's not because of your gender. If you do something wrong, it's because you did something wrong. It's no more acceptable or no more right because of your gender, but it is more acceptable because of your gender. That's not okay either. Now, how many times, after all the things that you guys have read from Natalie and all these other fucking nut jobs, how many times out of all of that, how many times did Natalie say that we had sex? How many times did she say that we had that kind of a relationship? None. Matter of fact, on her last public Facebook post, she admits we didn't have that kind of a relationship. However, that wasn't allowed in court. Only the slander was allowed in court. So the lady who was working together with Rochelle Shelley Campbell, that Kara Johnson Miles lady, which she has in my court stuff, it says that I used to date Natalie Bollinger. That's in my court documents. Is it in my documents because it happened? No, it's in my documents because my predators had credibility in court and I did not, because I was called mentally ill and they were not. Amanda Jonas and those officers made their decisions to abuse me and to pull the bullshit that they did based off of the lies from Kara Johnson Miles and the Bollinger family. And that is shown in my paperwork too. I needed to be able to protect myself from these people, and I'm not allowed because of the term mentally ill. So I need someone else to do it for me. But I can't because I'm intelligent. Well, there was a lot of other stuff going on at that point in time, wasn't there, Ashley? Like officers in the very jurisdictions that I was going after, beating people, raping people, killing people, and all over the fucking news. All over the news. The very officers who assaulted me, all over the news. For assaulting people and killing people. Clearview, all over the news for murdering 2 people at least. And there are a lot of people, from what I was reading, that after leaving Clearview went straight home and killed themselves. There were 3 of the people that I was in Clearview with who didn't need to be there. They were being held an extended amount of time because they had government funding, government insurance. These people should have been able to go back to their houses. Instead, they lost their houses. 3 of the people that I was locked up in Clearview with lost their housing because they were held for so long. They lost their housing. I want you to think about that. What was Clearview in trouble for? After I spoke out about it. I spoke out about them keeping me for too long and illegally, about them assaulting me and forcing drugs into me. And what did they get in trouble for? That is exactly what they got in trouble for. Fleecing the American public for tax dollars for services not rendered. And after that investigation got started, they killed 2 people, injecting them with the same drugs that I said, hey, they injected me with their drugs. People make excuses why it's okay, but it's not fucking okay. No, Bobby. See, here's the thing, is that there's 2 different Natalies that we need to talk about here. Bobby Red, he typed, they made it seem like you were a stalker, but was it because she was so depressed that you were trying to help her? No, it wasn't. That's what they were after, actually, is keep it quiet. Bobby, that's actually incorrect. I'm going to read Ashley's thing here, too, though. It says, Bobby, that is certainly what I am getting out of this. I think they needed a smoke and mirrors scenario, considering what her father did to her. Well, very much so, as far as that goes. Actually, you're correct. But, see, before Virginia and during Virginia, yes, she was depressed. But she wasn't treating me like a stalker or calling me a stalker. She was my best friend at that point in time. You know, she's sending me text messages telling me that she loves me. I sent her the same thing because I do love her. I love a lot of different people. It has nothing to do with gender. But when I got my vehicle broken down outside of her house, she started calling me a stalker. I mean, that was literally like 2 days, 3 days before I left Virginia because they took me to the hospital and then I had to try to fundraise and bust my ass to try to get my vehicle out and fucking try to come up with money for gas so I could get the fuck out of there. I mean, that wasn't easy shit to do, and there was a lot of people involved in that. Alex Furman, Brandon Ratner, Brenda Dickinson, a lot of people. It was the fact that she was embarrassed. She didn't want to tell her mom the truth. Her sister didn't want to tell her mom the truth. Alicia was being a fucking cunt. I mean, I was already having a fucking full-blown meltdown, and Alicia Bollinger is being a cunt over a gift that was busted, and she's hating me over the busted gift that she gave me. A busted phone that used to belong to Natalie. The conversation between me and Bobby Forrest, there's several of them on here. And he talks about that phone, remembering that phone. After I left Virginia, Natalie and Alicia were embarrassed. They called up Maddie Boa. Well, all right, I shouldn't say they. In specific, Maddie Boa said that it was Alicia. Alicia Bollinger called her up and said that I threatened her family. I didn't. The closest 2 things to a threat that Natalie Bollinger ever received from me, I'm going to tell you what they are. I threatened to retaliate against Ted Bollinger and Tim Beeson. And I did. I exposed them for the things they did to Natalie. I also said that I wanted to blow my head off in front of her over the way that they were fucking treating me. Over the fact that I couldn't get a police officer to fucking listen. I couldn't get my friends to listen. Everybody is too busy telling me how to think and feel. Telling me just to let it go. I fucking let it go. I drove 1,700 miles away to let it go. That's where it should have ended. She was depressed because her family's a bunch of drug addicts and pieces of shit. And they want to down on her for being a drug addict. Like their drug addictions are all her fault. Like everything bad that they did to her is her fault because she does them drugs. When I went to Virginia, yes, I was just trying to help her at her request. After Virginia, no, I wasn't trying to help her. I was trying to go see my loved ones who I couldn't see because of her slander. Because she lied and said that I stalked her when I obviously didn't. And all of the evidence proves that I didn't. But will the courts look at it? No. Will the cops look at it? No. Will any of my friends sit down and look at this shit? Not a single one. They all have their excuses. Oh, I'm depressed too, dude. I can't help you out. All right, fine. Dude, could you help me out? I'm depressed. Yes, I can help you out when I'm depressed. I'm not a bitch just because I'm depressed. I was going through a lot of hell, through a lot of people that fucking died on me. And that didn't stop me from going all the way to Cheyenne, Wyoming, not once, but twice, to rescue Desiree. Meanwhile, none of these bitches could even speak up and tell the truth. Couldn't even tell the truth. Were too afraid to step up and tell the truth. Meanwhile, I got phones and fucking screenshots all over the place that show that I've been telling the truth. Everything that I did in Virginia, until after my birthday, of course, when I was severely dehydrated and a lot of fucking pain, being ignored or being bullied, having to deal with all of these fucking people that I lost that had died. I'm having to deal with all of that and not having the money to go anywhere, not physically able to go back to labor ready to even work. And I'm stuck in that. My main problem isn't caring too much. All of us need to care more. She didn't think that I had malicious intentions at any point in time. She knew that I didn't have malicious intentions. Matter of fact, on the Michelle Brannick profile, I said, hey, we need to work this out. People are harming me because you're scared of me. And she typed back, I'm not scared of you, I'm pissed off. But I'm not allowed to be pissed off? No, Bobby Red, you're wrong again. Not intentionally, though. Bobby Red wrote, I think your main problem was caring too much, and people, including her, thought you had malicious intentions. Am I right that you saw a hurting person and being a hurt man you wanted to help? No, that's not right. See, here's the thing, is that none of this stalker fucking rapist fucking bullshit, none of this started until after I left Virginia. Natalie was pissed off because she was embarrassed. And she wanted to make her sister happy. Her sister. Natalie always did what her sister wanted. Me and Natalie made plans while I was there. Just me and Natalie. But her sister always had to go along. Natalie couldn't say no to her sister. And instead of doing what it is that me and Natalie had planned, we always did what Alicia wanted. Yeah, there's a reason that Natalie wanted to blow her goddamn head off. I'm the scapegoat of my family. She's the scapegoat of hers. These people played massive quantities of head games, thinking that they were going to get away with it because I'm retarded. Oh no, I'm highly intelligent. There is only one person with my IQ for every 70 towns in America. That means if you go to 70 different towns and cities in the United States, your likelihood of finding someone as intelligent as me, you will have to search those towns top to bottom, because there's only one out of all 70 of those towns, there is only one person with my intelligence quotient. Bobby Red typed, what was she embarrassed about? Let me set up the scenario for you. You're trying to keep secrets from your mom, right? Including this guy that you invited to Virginia. This guy that you said, hey, I'm going to fucking kill myself if you don't show up. My family is driving me nuts. Is she going to tell her mom, hey, mom, I invited him here because I was going to fucking kill myself over you? And Tim Beeson and Dad and Uncle Troy. Thank you, Ashley. Yes, I did want to help, but at the same time, you have to ask for my help. If you tell me a problem and I offer to help, you have the option of saying yes or no. We didn't get to the yes or no option because she had already asked me to go. She was embarrassed because after my birthday, while I'm severely dehydrated, fucking got no money, I'm fucking stuck there. I have no friends in the area. I have no way to get back home. Natalie's going to talk to me on Monday, but at the same time, like, she's told me a couple of times that she's going to talk to me, but instead she ends up getting drunk with her sister on their roof. And I'm fine with that, you know. Spend some time with your sister. Spend some time with your family. That's a good thing. But at the same time, I didn't do those bad things to you. Your dad did. Your dad raped you. When I let you know that I was being accused of raping and molesting you and your sister, did you speak up? No, you didn't. How many times out of all of this did Natalie accuse me of molesting her or having any kind of a sexual relationship with her whatsoever? A grand total of zero. 0 times did she ever go running around telling people that I was a child molester or a rapist. She didn't have to. The word stalker was enough. You look at our relationship in Virginia and before Virginia, obviously it's not stalking. Obviously. You look at what happened after Virginia. She's just trying to hide the fact that she did so much fucked up shit. Bobby Red, I am highly intelligent, and I know I'm highly intelligent. However, the more intelligent you type Sean, the more intelligent you are, or the more intelligent you get, the more you realize how you aren't. And not so much on intelligence. Education, yes. The more educated I get, the more I realized how ignorant I was before and how much I have left to learn. Yeah, they didn't include her being molested. I gotta get a hold of that Gavigan fella. I was gonna do that yesterday, but I got to arguing with some of the trolls who wanted to shame anybody who stuck up for me. They did that in all the Natalie Bollinger groups too. Shaming anybody who stuck up for me, kicking anybody who stuck up for me out of those groups. See, that's something that Shannon Alvarado got to see, but she didn't speak out about. That's something that Mandy Hughes was going to speak out about, but never did. See, all of these people, it wasn't my actions that were their excuses for not doing these things. It wasn't. It was their personal lives. Mandy Hughes couldn't keep her word because of illnesses within her family. That's not my fault. It's not my choice. But it's also not what the police wrote down. That's the point, is that the police did not talk to any fucking witnesses. They didn't bother to find out the truth. They only listened to my predators, who I had already spoken out about their predatory actions, and those were the only people that they talked to. Those are the only people that they would listen to. Yes, ma'am. The thing, Ashley, is that people needed to speak up. Seeing those comments doesn't make any difference. If I try to make a report about it, I'm called mentally ill and nobody listens. Somebody who's not under the mentally ill tag has to turn it in. But then they tell those people, they tell me, oh, we can't take your report because you're mentally ill. They tell these other people, oh, we can't take your report. We have to take it from Sean. So they're not going to take it from anybody. Meanwhile, the conversations with many of these people, like Aaron Cockerham and Cara Mia, aka Cara Rogers, and Miss Peaches, and Katie Cahill, and all of these other people, that's all on this YouTube. All those conversations, well, not all of them. There's about, I want to say, an additional 100 or so conversations that were on the computer that was stolen. And between the 3 phones that were stolen, there was probably an additional 50. But now that evidence has been stolen because police refused to look at it, public pretenders refused to look at it, and I didn't have help with the things that I needed electronically or emotionally or financially in order to do the things that all the things that I needed to do. I mean, I am familiar with Temple Grandin. She works with cattle in University of Colorado at Greeley. She's in a much better position than me. They actually made a movie about her. She's a visual thinker too. A lot of the stuff that she talks about are 100% me. I mean, when she talks about the communication issues, when she talks about how people treated her, people treated her a lot better growing up than they treated me, but that's neither here nor there. When she talks about the visual references and thinking in pictures, I've been explaining that for years. I explained every part of autism that I experienced before I ever told people I was autistic. All of my autistic traits have been documented by myself and others since well before I ever told anyone. After I left Virginia, before I left Virginia, I wasn't stalking. We were friends. After I left Virginia, and she was embarrassed because I got stuck in the middle of the fucking road, instead of trying to understand the situation, they just slandered my name. They slandered my name to Maddie Boa. That was the first friend that I lost over Natalie and Alicia's slander. And what happened with that? Well, Maddie Boa started throwing that slander around. Next thing you know, her fucking customers are throwing that slander around. And then you end up with a bunch more people who have no soul, like Katie Whiteman, spreading that slander because it's entertaining. I never did Katie Whiteman wrong. I never once did Katie Whiteman wrong. Matter of fact, I never did Natalie or Alicia wrong. Asking them to be adults about the situation because an adult is being abused because of his disabilities and your slander. You really should, Bobby Red. She's pretty badass. Temple Grandin. She's there's a movie about her and everything. Although looking at the movie, it's difficult to. I've only seen a couple little clips of it when I was watching some of Temple's stuff. Um, yeah, the girl who's playing her doesn't play her very well. Matter of fact, the girl who's playing her doesn't play autistic very well. But that wasn't the point of the movie. There's a movie called Beautiful Minds, supposed to be about an autistic man. I've never seen that either. But the thing is, while these people they have people who want to understand their disabilities because they're famous. They've been on the news. They've had movies about them. They've got documentaries about them. You know, people want to help them out because of, well, they weren't accused of the things that I was. Now you want to go looking at all of this stuff. Look at the messages between Tim Beeson and I. Although Natalie Bollinger never once ran around saying that I was a child molester or rapist, she did tell me about Tim, and Tim is a child molester and a rapist. But what did Tim do? Tim accused me of being on drugs, accused me of being a child molester, all because she said that I stalked her. That's where Natalie lied. She lied and said that I stalked her. And then her sister lied and said that I threatened her family. And after that, I had to deal with a whole bunch of Teds and Tims. A whole bunch of fucking goddamn child molesting, rapist fucking pieces of shit. Treating me like I'm the bad guy. No, Ted Bollinger's the bad guy. I was illegally prevented from going to my court dates. Illegally prevented from facing my accusers. Illegally prevented from showing evidence. And those three rights right there are enough to imprison everyone who took part. She lied because she was embarrassed, dude. She was strung out on fucking drugs. See, first of all, when I went to Virginia, she didn't want to tell her mom that I was there because if I didn't show up, she was going to kill herself over her mom, her dad, and Tim. And you're right, they really should think hard before crying wolf. Not once, ever, that entire time, did Natalie ever try, not even once, did she try talking to me like a human being. We could have hashed this out like adults. While she's playing victim, like I would go do these terrible things that I had never done to anyone previously, why would I start now? I'm actually being harmed, actually being threatened, actually being assaulted over her drug-induced paranoia. But then you guys want to say paranoid, like that's always a crazy thing. All I got to say is something to you, all right? If you're a black man and you walk through a white neighborhood and you get harassed and arrested because of the color of your skin, because somebody called you in, and then the next time you walk through a white neighborhood, the same thing happens. And the next time you walk through a white neighborhood, the same thing happens. Yes, you have the right to be paranoid because your experiences taught you to be paranoid. Your experiences have taught you that if you walk through a white neighborhood, a bunch of people who are afraid of you because they're stupid and ignorant are going to call the cops. You're going to get harassed. You're not going to get an honest day in court. The next time somebody says, hey, you need to go walk them through a white neighborhood. Fuck no, I'm not. Oh, don't be a pussy. No, dude, you got no idea. I got experience. No, now you're just making stuff up. No, at that point in time, you have every right to be fucking paranoid. You're not paranoid because you're schizophrenic. You're paranoid from experience. And if you are paranoid from experience, your paranoia is justified. My paranoia of the police is justified. The term mentally ill means I will never be a human being. I will never be a human being to the courts. I will never be a human being to the police. I will never be allowed the rights that you take for granted every single day. Life is grand with your head in the sand unless you're afraid of the dark. And I've got a plan starring Iron Man with me instead of Tony Stark. After I left Virginia, I thought it was all done and over, and that's where it should have stayed. But it didn't. Because Natalie and Alicia slandering me to Matty Boa, Natalie and Alicia were still in Virginia. Obviously, I didn't follow Natalie to Colorado like people are suggesting. I didn't even know she was there until she was dead. But the thing is, the slander that she told her mom because she didn't want to get in trouble resulted in me being harmed. By harm, in this particular case, most of the time when I say harm, I'm talking physical abuse. But I started losing friends over this immediately. Maddie Boa stopped being my friends over slander by those two little druggy whores before I even made it out of the state. And mind you, Maddie Boa's a druggy whore too. You don't like the word whore, I know. That's fine. I meant druggy prostitute. She will have sex with you for some meth. She'll have sex with you for some heroin. Yeah, prostitute. It is a sad story. But the thing is, her pride was at stake at that point. When I left Virginia, it was too late to take that back. It was too late for her to take back that slander. She didn't want to be embarrassed by the fact that she lied. So she just never took it back. She knew that I didn't rape her. She knew that I didn't molest her. She knew that I didn't stalk her. She just didn't fucking care. She cared about her heroin. Every single time that I contacted Natalie after I left Virginia was because I was either assaulted or I wanted to go see people who I love in places where I was assaulted. Now then, there's people that you love that are, well, Brenda Dickinson. I love her, but she's constantly fucking bitching. Constantly bitching, constantly bitching, constantly negative. Do you know how difficult it is to be positive all the goddamn time when everybody around you is negative? I mean, before Natalie was killed, I had like 3 people in town to talk to, and they're all fucking negative all the time. And I have to go to these people to try to get help. And instead of listening to me and finding out the situation, they just want to talk about themselves because they're on drugs. Now, Brenda Dickinson, is she doing illegal drugs? No, these are prescription drugs for rheumatoid arthritis. They still fuck up her head. Of course, I was set up for failure. It's easy to do. People victimize those who they believe are easiest to get away with victimizing. Like me, let's say I was a rapist. If I'm a rapist and I'm looking for a victim, we're going to take a look at 2 different women. We're going to take a look at the 400-pound woman that I know you guys are going to be like, well, who would rape a 400-pound woman? It doesn't matter. All right, let's say she's 200 pounds. Does that make you feel better? And then you got this 98-pound woman, right? Which one is easier for you to victimize? I mean, that 200, 300, 400-pound woman, if you try to rape her, she might knock you the fuck out like a little bitch. She might throw you around like a rag doll. But you know that 98-pounder won't. She doesn't have the strength to fend you off. And that's just physical. When we're talking about mental situations, and we're talking about all of these other pieces that are part of the scenario, like people's bias, their prejudices, their assumptions, the fact that the rules are different for them than they are for others. It's not okay for you to rape somebody, it's only okay for me. No, rape is never okay. It's not okay for a teacher to have sex with their students. If a male teacher has sex with one of his female students, he's this terrible monster. But if a female teacher has sex with one of the male students, oh, well, he shouldn't be bitching. At least he's getting laid. Oh my God, she's so fucking hot. Women who are actual child molesters get treated better than men. You notice I didn't say men who are child molesters. I said men. A woman who rapes a child, who has sex with a child, she gets a lot more leniency than a man gets just for being a man. If a man is accused of those crimes and he didn't commit them, but a woman is accused of these crimes and she actually committed them, which one of those two is in a more fucked up situation? The man, because of public bias, has nothing to do with what's legal and what's not legal. Even the courts of law don't follow what's legal and what's not legal. They follow public opinion. If the police can generate enough public opinion that the public fucking hates me, the courts are going to go right along with it, especially if it's all over the news the way mine was. Now you want to go take a look at all these people who wanted to jump on the bandwagon, right? Like when all that shit happened with Selena Not Afraid, and that woman wanted to pretend like I gave her a ride. She had to throw herself out of my truck. Jumping on the bandwagon. The same thing here with the Natalie case. A lot of people wanted to say, oh, you're a this kind of person, you're a that kind of person. But you know what? It's been over 2 years of people doing this, and after over 2 years, not one person has come forward to say Sean Schwartz raped me. Not one person has come forward to say Sean Schwartz has molested me. Not one. Not even one. Do you find that a little bit strange? If you're going to call me a child molester, you need to prove it. You want to call me a rapist, you need to prove it. Don't pretend like you have a friend that I did something to. No. You get your friend, and you have your friend speak up. I want to hear from all of my supposed victims. If I'm this terrible person that you want to peg me out to be, I want to see proof of this. I want to hear from the people who are supposedly my victims. Why is it that after all of this, there still are not even one of these supposed victims? Not even one. Let's see. So what are your faults and what do you think is something you need to work on? My faults? Well, most of my faults I can't really consider faults because it's situational. A lot of people say, Sean, you're too trusting. No, you have to trust somebody. In a situation like this, you can't do it alone. A lot of people might say that my biggest fault is being too trusting or too kind or too compassionate or caring too much. I disagree. I think those are the greatest parts of human society. Thing is, I was harmed for things that I didn't do. I didn't stalk Natalie. When I left Virginia, I didn't care where she was. I just assumed she was in Virginia. I didn't care who she was hanging out with. It didn't make any difference to me. What I cared about was stopping the violence. When it got to the point where I literally wanted someone to blow my fucking head off, like, holy shit, yes, if Natalie was alive today and I had a loaded firearm, especially after everything I've gone through, if she popped up today and said, surprise, I'm not dead, I fooled y'all, yeah, I'd go blow my head off in front of that bitch. I would blow my head off so close that she could feel the blood spray on her face. You want to call that psycho? That's not psycho. Psycho would be going around and cutting Danica Garner's head off and cutting Alicia Bollinger's head off. cutting all of her siblings' head off, cutting her dad's head off, and Troy's head off, and Jennifer Farina Bollinger's head off, Adam Klein's head off, cutting off Braxton's head. That's psycho. That is psycho. The reason that I wanted Natalie to see me dead is so she could stop pretending. She was never afraid that I would hurt her. She was afraid of exposure, just like most of these people. She was afraid that the fucked up things that she was doing would come to light. Yes, I still care about Natalie. And yes, I would have given my life for her. I'd give my life for a lot of people. I'd give my life for strangers. I have literally stood between people that I love and complete strangers that they were trying to kill. I don't give a holy goddamn if you're my best friend on the planet. If you do wrong shit, I'm going to speak up.